the outdoor chef. My name is Jonathan Collins. I'm a professional chef. This is my oldest son, Dakota, my youngest son, Bailey.
Hello. How are you doing tonight?
And we're so glad that you've taken this time to join us. We're really excited about sharing these recipes and talking about, in this case, wild turkey.
Yep, wild turkey with dumplings. What could be better, right?
Well, you know, chicken and dumplings is a classic recipe. Matter of fact, where's that bird? The bird we got last night.
I can go get it.
Okay, go get it. So we got another bird.
We got another bird last night.
I honestly, for me, the idea of, as a professional chef, harvesting your own food, taking the responsibility of plucking it and field dressing it, it's like, first of all, I don't waste a single piece of meat.
Start to finish.
Nothing,
Yep,
right?
No. We took those legs off that bird from last week and we smoked them.
Yeah. So what does smoking do? So you've thawed your whole turkey, right? Let's say you've used a couple of the breasts. What are you going to do with the rest? And that's what made us think, well, let's smoke it.
Because you can't, once you thaw a bird, we shot the bird, we plucked it and froze it immediately, the whole bird. So then we thawed it, you cannot refreeze it until you cook it again.
Exactly. So the beautiful thing about smoking it, and once we get these dumplings on, I'm going to take you out to the barbecue, talk a little bit about how we smoked it. Once you smoke it, all of a sudden, it's food safe again.
Yep.
And you can do two things with it. You can either cook with it like we did, or you can put it back in the freezer for another time.
Yep.
And so smoking does a few things. Obviously, tons of flavor. You love smoking.
I love smoking, especially in the summer. You have your usual barbecues, but then as soon as you start to smoke, you got hickory, applewood. There's so many different things you can do.
Comes to life.
Yeah, yeah. So when you're looking, you know, as professional chefs, we're always looking for little cheats, little ways to get good food better, to make great food even better. The way you do that is by finding little ways. And smoking is a way to add flavor, to add tenderness. And if you've already hunted wild turkey, you know those birds, they get tough from running around, from us chasing them, and from outrunning those. We got so many coyotes on film. It was unreal. They were in their, what do you call it, red phase?
Well, yeah, it's like they're like this reddish brown color, just gorgeous.
They almost look like a fox, just the different tail.
Yeah.
Yeah, big, bushy, but killing lots of birds. We found 3 kill sites, but they just literally left nothing. It looked
like a bomb had gone off.
Yeah, just literally
feathers everywhere.
Yeah. So we love wild turkey. It's a big deal for us because, you know, being able to be part of the story of reintroducing them here in southwestern Ontario and bringing back the numbers and getting the message out of how much fun it is. But we're here to cook. So let's do a little bit of cooking.
Let's do it.
So I'll tell you what, let's go off camera and I'll bring the camera over and we'll talk a little bit about what we did. So what we did is earlier today is we simply took these absolutely gorgeous legs that were, there you go. Absolutely gorgeous legs that we smoked, okay? So first of all, what you're going to notice from this is all of that beautiful and intense color. So you can see that, so if you look at the color of this stock, this was just water, no stock added. And you know, one of the things I'm looking for here, do you see those little golden beads there? That's that beautiful turkey fat. So that's rendered, and I'm going to leave that in there. Now I'm going to pull this out. And so after we've taken all the goodness from this, now what Dakota's going to do is he's going to shred that down, and that's going to go back into this beautiful pot. Now you can see we've got some bay leaves in here. The bay leaves we're going to fish out. Man, doesn't it smell good?
Yeah, you know, the other thing I never really thought about, but I also love about smoking in the barbecue is, I know personally me, after the breast and, you know, being able to cut it into little cubes, I don't know if I'd really know what to do about pulling all the meat and everything off that bone. So it's nice to just kind of be able to break that joint, take it off, cook it whole, and then just to be able to take a fork and just pull it off. And not have to worry about it. Just pull it off, and you got beautiful meat there still.
That, and the other big thing about this is because it is an otherwise kind of tough cut, this is something that we can do with this. And when Dakota starts cutting this up, he's going to show you. This is something that we can make tender by essentially what we're doing. So we smoked it. Then we put it in some water. That gives us a beautiful stock. From there, leaving it in is essentially, we're essentially poaching it. It's a little bit of poach and braise. So what that means is that meat is going to be tender. We'll be able to pull that off and shred it up. Now, we got a beautiful stock going. I want to do a few more flavor additives. Okay. Bailey's got one of my favorite ingredients, and I know it's one of your favorite too. So we're just going to take regular slab bacon. It's double smoked. It's a different smoke. So this is applewood. That was hickory we used. We're going to mix up the smoking, and you might say, man, it's a lot of smoke. Remember, with those dumplings, you got that beautiful, heavy dough. Yeah. And it's going to be bright, it's going to be flavorful, but you need something to go with that fat. I see we've got a question. Megan.
Okay, so Jeremiah says, which is better, electric smoker or non-electric smoker?
Well,
Jeremiah from last week.
Jeremiah from last week. Thank you for watching, Jeremiah. Listen, Jeremiah, the easy answer is whatever smoker you can get your hands on.
Available to you. Pellet, electric, charcoal, whatever you have available.
Whatever, you know. There are a lot of really great brands and partners that we work with, and you'll learn more about them as we move ahead. But I'm telling you right now, you know, some of the best smoking, I'll tell you, best smoking job probably I ever did. I was doing it for the President of the United States. And I'm just okay. But I'm not kidding you, okay? It was Plains bison. It was a beautiful big cut. It was sirloin. So I smoked it. But you know what I used? This is my point. I literally took some chips, soaked them, wrapped them in some foil, because we didn't have a smoker, poked some holes in it, and put it on offset heat. So I'll show you that when we go back outside when our dumplings are cooking. Offset heat is critical. If you can't offset heat, so that means I've got a source of heat here, but I got enough room to put my bird or whatever you're smoking off to the side. Because otherwise what will happen is it'll just overcook it.
No direct heat.
Yeah, exactly. No direct heat. You want like 200, 225, nice light smoke and not too much. Just to develop a beautiful smoke ring.
And one of the secrets we did with this is that if you can find yourself some old whiskey barrel chunks, wine barrel chunks, you take those chunks and you put them in the same way you do all your other smoking material, and you get all that flavor from your favorite whiskey, wine, or anything is going to come right out.
So if you're flying down a country road and you see somebody with some planter baskets and they look like old wine cask, stop, pick them up. Cut them up, you know.
Pay for them.
Pay for them, yes. Always pay for them, you know. But, you know, there's incredible ways to get flavor. And so to your point, whether it's electric, whether it's propane, natural gas, or just out over an open fire, and we're going to show you some of those, smoking is a great way to infuse incredible flavor and get beautiful moisture.
So as I start to take apart this bird, I just want to show you a couple things. You'll see on this part of the leg, this sinewy, tendonish part. You want to make sure that you slice any of that off. Obviously, that's not going to cook down. That is hard as a rock.
And the incredible thing is that is not present in the domestic birds.
No, this
not
is
in the raised birds.
Like sinew. I could make string out of this.
What is it? Oh, well, this thing right here. So there's, I think there were 7 of them. So they go right down that front leg.
They down this part of the leg, and all I'm going to do is I slide my knife in behind it, slide it up, and then slide down it, and it comes out really easily.
Perfect. So you can see, and then literally you can just watch this one right here. You can just literally pull that out. Yeah, beautiful.
And then look, you see them all here.
Okay.
So they just pull. It's just common sense. You see it.
2.
Yep.
There we go. Yep.
Beautiful. Looks almost like a tendon.
It is. That's exactly precisely what it is. So on that foreleg of the wild turkey, it's the meat is thin. These birds are running around. You know, if you've been out there, you know they don't like to fly. They get their big butts up in the air every now and then, but these are runners. Every time I've seen them, until we started having some success, they are running away from me all the time. But, you know, it's something that you have to keep that in mind. So that's what we were thinking. Whenever you're thinking about how do I cook something, think about what is that muscle used for? Does it have marbling? Is there going to be connective tissue? And that will help you to understand. Like, for example, if you take a pork shoulder, think about a wild hog. You know that with all that fat and connective tissue, you want to cook it low, you want to cook it slow, you're going to braise. This was a perfect example of something that's brilliant to smoke.
I'll just show you this real quick. You can see that smoke ring that's developed along the edge of that meat. Just beautiful. And as I'm literally taking it apart, you can smell that hickory. It's just incredible.
Oh, that's amazing. So now timing in terms of smoking. You don't want to smoke for too long. Anything more than, in this case, with the thickness of this bird, you can start to saute that. We got to have that bacon. So we're going to add bacon in this. I think it'll be a nice balance of flavor. We're always trying to do recipes that gets people. We, as hunters and outdoors people, we have kind of affinity for wild food. But we want to get, some of the people who are skeptics. We want to get them eating. So we want to put some familiar flavors and balance of flavors. One of the things I can tell you about balancing flavors is you want to think about your palate. Every time you go to make something, if something's all sweet or all bitter or all sour or all fatty, it's not very pleasant. As a matter of fact, for this dish, which is going to be a little heavier, I brought out some pickles that we made this week. So we made these beautiful pickles out of English cucumber. Actually, I can post that recipe too. But what I'm thinking is, once we get this going, I'm going to put some of those pickles on the side so that as I have that dumpling and that beautiful gravy, that I got something to kind of cut the fat there too. So Bailey's starting that bacon in a hot pan. Yep. Keep your eye on that.
And with a dish like this, you can see I've got like a really this part has been dried out quite a bit, and I can tell you we're headed up to bear camp in about a week, and that's going to be
jerky.
That's going to be jerky. You know, just use common sense. If you have a tough piece, most likely if it's that tough, you're not going to soften it up, so you don't want someone getting a hard bite of that in their dumpling.
Absolutely. So dumplings, by their very nature, are very, they're soft. And there's a beautiful bone, right? Yep. So you want to make sure that all the flavors are also in line with that. So a little bit of texture here with the meat. But like Dakota said, he's going to make sure that those pieces are uniform, that they're bite-sized and very, very pleasant.
Yeah. It's also really important. One of the things he ever taught me was when you're cooking, to always make sure everything is very uniformly sized. Otherwise, you'll be sauteing something, and while some of the stuff is burning, some of your other pieces might just be starting to cook. And then you'll end up with, like, some will be soft, some will be hard, and then some will be burnt, and then it just doesn't really taste good.
I'll give you a look at this. You'll see as I'm just cutting that into uniform pieces. That way, when someone takes a bite out of this gorgeous dumpling, they're not going to get a bite that they can't handle. Look at all that smoke ring in there. Right?
Okay, so while you're working on that, I'm going to start dumplings.
All right.
So dumplings there's 27 ingredients, and they have to be put in precise. No, it's easy. All-purpose flour, some baking powder, some baking soda, buttermilk, always buttermilk, just like when you're making biscuits.
I thought you were flying off the handle there for a second. I'm like, there's like 5 ingredients.
Recipes with 20 ingredients, just take those books and use them to start your fire next week.
Or your smoker.
Or your smoker. All that is people hiding behind pretentious ideas about food. The best foods are the ones that that your mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, and all family members have made for generations. They're the simplest ingredients, and they always taste the best. So I'm going to get started with this. I'm going to grab this one. So this is just regular all-purpose flour. I need 5 cups of that. So when you're measuring for something like this, Bay's got a knife there. This is simple. If those of you know it at home, you want to make sure that your measures are fairly equal. When you're talking about baking in particular, it's a bit more scientific than the run and gun stuff that we do with everything else. Great job. 5 cups? You sure? Okay. So what is baking soda? Do you know?
I don't know.
It's bicarbonate of soda. So it's basically what it is. It's a little bit of magic whenever you're baking. It's in, now you could just use a self-rising flour or activated flour, but I wanted to use all-purpose so you could so you'd have it. No matter what, if you've made pancakes at home, you've got these ingredients. So we're going to take, and you can always feel, you can feel the baking powder. It feels, and it moves a little bit like water in a dish. This is the baking powder. You want to do 2 big tablespoons of that.
I think it felt the same.
So, Code, you have that completely finished?
Yes.
Man, I can't believe. So this is off a 20-pound bird coming off. Okay,
yep.
Cool. So that's 2 of those in there.
Yep.
And then teaspoons, we're going to go to the other one. Right there. Teaspoon, even teaspoon of this one. So, yeah, and make sure that's even. So if you have a look at this, so this is by volume 2 smoked turkey legs, wild turkey legs. Now that's off a 20-pound bird. That's a moderate, modest sized bird. We've seen them coming in 20, 26 pounds. So that's, that's a fair amount. So this is going to go now into our stock. And actually, yeah, just we'll watch that heat a little bit. And so Bay's crisping up that bacon. So let's put this in. My goodness, I had no idea there'd be so much. Oh man, it's all going in. Okay. So now what immediately begins to happen is that it's gonna mix those flavors together. The nice thing about having so much meat, which is a really pleasant surprise, is that every single bite will have some of that beautiful turkey in it. And when you're putting it out like that, it's a combination of a bit like a stew, bit like a soup, and it's all this beautiful dumpling that brings it together. So if you've never made dumplings before, you got that all in there? Yep. So this is a really critical thing. It's important always, so this is a great rule for you in all baking, and that is to combine the dry ingredients first. Before the wet, but to combine them separately, always. And it just means you don't want a pocket of the baking powder or the baking soda in one side, because you might have a biscuit that just gets all lopsided.
I was baking fresh bread once and I didn't do that. I was in a rush and I literally ended up, no word of a lie, with a pot. I went to slice into the middle of my bread and I had a pocket of air this big.
Yeah.
And you can also, especially with baking soda, if you don't mix it, you could be eating and you taste great, and all of a sudden you'll bite into this one piece. It's almost like someone put too much salt in it.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is you could do a couple things. You could sift this.
Yeah.
So you could use a tamis, which is just basically a great big sieve. Or the easiest thing is just to grab a balloon whisk and just stir that up. And all you're doing is just breaking it up and combining it.
Yep.
It's an easy way to get it done. A little piece of
As you notice, all of these things are definitely something that everyone has in their home. A stainless steel bowl, a balloon whisk, or just a regular whisk.
Yep.
Some flour, baking soda, and baking powder. It's so simple.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm going to do, and actually if you would just take some of that up right up to the camera, and let's get a really good bird's eye view there.
Again, we use fresh herbs whenever it makes sense, and so this is fresh thyme.
Go reverse.
You see the tiny little leaves with the stems?
Yep.
All you do to get these leaves off is you grab the tip, pull down, and all your leaves come off.
Now you can use anything. So now I'm using fresh thyme because to me, thyme is perfect for turkey. Sage is also beautiful. You could use that. Rosemary is a little heavy, but you could use rosemary as well. But this is not a time where you're going to use a broadleaf herb like basil or tarragon. You want something that'll stand up, and the thyme, because it's broadleaf evergreen, is perfect for that. So you don't have to put fresh thyme or any herbs in your dumplings, but for me, I love the color, I love the punch of flavor, and the time to add it is right now. Now, if you're going to put that dried stuff, what you can do when you have that pocket of dried stuff, that little tin can, take that little tin can, go over to your trash can, open it up, and drop it in, because that's not what we want. Well, I want you to use something fresh. It's extremely inexpensive. Yep. It's easy to come by. It stores beautifully, and it's the results are like nothing else. You know that from
all you do is when you get it home, any fresh herbs that you buy from the store, take paper towel, wet it, and wrap your herbs inside it. It holds it perfectly. And like we said before, the point of adding the thyme here, you don't have to, but the way great recipes are made is just by adding little things at each step. And in the end, you end up with an amazing recipe. And everyone's like, how'd you do that? And it's just because you took just a little extra time to add, what is this taking us, 20 seconds to add that?
A little bit of love, that's it.
Yep.
So I'm just putting a little bit of fresh ground black pepper. All of these ingredients are in there. And that turkey stock. We have carrots. We have celery, we have onions, and leek. All four of those are a beautiful flavor base. Hold that bowl. And let's grab the camera. I want you to see at home the texture, what you should be expecting out of this. And so this is a very simple dough. And I'm just going to begin to bring it together. And while I do, this reminds me of a bunch of other types of simple dough. Things like gnocchi and pasta. They all have the same basic thing. There's flour at their base, but with these, the dumplings, we want them to grow. We want them to cook. Tap that out, son. I'm just gonna get a spatula here. And we want them to be light. Texture is a big part of that. Watch your bacon there, bud. And what Bay's going to do with that bacon is make sure to strain off as much of that fat as possible. And Coda, I'm going to get you to hang out here just for a minute because I really want to show the texture of this dough. You're going to think to yourself that it looks very liquid, but as soon as I drop it in that beautiful stock, it's going to firm up for me really nice and quickly. So one of the great things about making dumplings is a lot of people, when it comes time for that to thicken up that stock, what happens is it's the flour that's in these, because we're dropping them right into the stock, that'll thicken up and make that beautiful gravy. So with this fully combined, Dakota, I think we're going to go right over to the pan. Now have a look at the texture of that. I'm getting this out because my grandmother wouldn't have me, if I wasted anything like this, I'd be in trouble. My mom too. So there we go. Beautiful. One of the things I can tell you about, just so you know, so I can smell the buttermilk, and one of the great things about buttermilk too is the acidity. So that acidity is beautiful. Come on over here, and we'll just take and we'll start spooning these in. So what you want, first of all, is just to make sure all of these ingredients are nicely combined. And then what we're going to do is just simply take big dollops of this. Thank you. So let's put, is this the full pound?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to put about half of that in. I almost forgot. Thanks, bud.
You're welcome.
So if you're by chance just joining us, what you're seeing is a presentation by the outdoor chef. In go these beautiful dumplings. And all you want to do is just find a home. And this is the part where you show a whole bunch of love. Just literally tucking these in. See how, whenever I'm making dumplings, I make absolutely certain that I make enough of them because these are coveted. As a matter of fact, I know my wife is going to eat these right off the top, so I got to make sure there's lots. But you see, you just put them down. They're like, you know what they are like? Dakota and I were talking about it before we went on. They're exactly like little pillows. Yeah. So they're little pillows that soak up all that beautiful flavor. Now, if you look around them, you can see the color of the stock underneath. You can see that, when you develop a stock like that on your own, for me, I'm extremely proud of it because I know that's going to be a ton of flavor. And we're going to cover every single corner of this
and you can
pie.
See, just as the same as last week, everything we're doing here is in this one pot.
Yep.
We did the same thing last week with the potatoes. We had one cast iron pot. We scooped it, put it on top. But they're actually doing almost the same thing, just with the bread this time. But the other thing, quickly.
No, go ahead.
The other thing I love about this, and we've done it quite a bit actually, is it's such simple ingredients. Like he said, there's 5 ingredients. So you're going up to bear camp, you're doing something like that, and instead of packing a protein bar, take a Ziploc bag, fill it with the pre-made the mix.
Yeah, no, it's
take
easy.
It up, little bowl, whisk it up, you got bread.
Yeah, you just won't have buttermilk there, but you can definitely use water. You can also use powdered milk. Now have a look at this because this is an important step. And this is why it's so nice using good cast iron. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cover this up, and when I do, I'm going to just leave that alone. I'm going to leave it alone for about 25 minutes. And then we're going to go into the shop, and I'm going to talk a little bit about barbecuing and what we've done. We're going to take you out into our shop now, and this is where we do a lot of our designing, a lot of our planning. It's where we always gear up, and I'm excited to show you a couple things. So let's first of all talk about barbecue. So what I chose to do, I've got a beautiful offset smoker. So the way I was able to do this in code, come on in real tight, we left everything in there from earlier today. So let's just lift up. We'll have a real good look at what we were able to accomplish. So you can see this is where I had my lump charcoal. This is where I put my smoking wood in, the hickory. And then this is where I had, on the other side, this is where I had the turkey legs. Now, I had brined the turkey legs. The turkey legs sat for 24 hours in a mixture of water with sugar and salt. And that allowed me to get the heavy amount of blood away from the bones, to wick any of that flavor, what I don't want in there, away from them, and also to get lots of moisture and some flavor in there. Then what I did, and this is what I love about this barbecue in particular. Come on in here, Chris. I was able to control the heat, and that's the most important thing. So this actually cranks up and down. It's a total chef's toy, but absolutely brilliant. So it's the second thing. So non-direct heat is critical. You want to make sure that you're getting heat, but that it's offset. And then when the smoke starts rolling, you want to keep it rolling for that whole time. Now,
That's also, it's important if you have time before to soak your wood chips.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just like wood and it'll burn up really fast. But if you soak it, they always tend to smoke
Slow.
twice as much,
Yeah.
and they burn twice as slow.
And what I like to do is soaking them in a little bit of whiskey.
Yeah. So, one of the things that as a professional chef I can tell you that makes me so frustrated is poor equipment means that I don't get the job done right. And what archery does is puts me right in contact. Let's have a quick look at this. Puts me right in touch with the animals and birds that we're hunting. Let's have a quick look. We'll get a little preview. Oh yeah. So you can see that's that activating. So I'm just going to turn it down a little bit. It's fragrant. Now when you look at that stalk, that's unbelievable. That flavor, that came from smoking those legs. And let's just have a quick look at the texture. I just want to look, just so you can see right now. Look at that. See how they've firmed up? I got to be honest with you. These are getting really, really close to being ready. Yeah. So I think what we need to do, we need to serve some of this up.
Yeah.
Why don't you grab that camera and come back here. I want you to see how beautiful this is. We'll just take this ladle. So have a look. Ready? Oh yeah, that's money right there, folks. I'm loving that.
The smell when you took that lid off, it just hit you like someone's hitting you in the face. That was delicious.
So what I want to do now, do you see the texture of that gravy that's bubbling up from underneath? What I'm going to do is I'm going to press, and I just want to get a scoop of what's underneath. Make sure to get what's underneath. Excuse me.
Yeah, pick up some of that turkey.
Pick up some of that turkey. So you see that? And then I'm going to drop that into place. Oh my gosh. Okay, so
I think you need a little bit more of that gravy.
I need more gravy. So gravy's going on top.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just going to get a bit more. And we'll just finish that just like that. Beautiful. So you got this beautiful little dumpling tucked right in there. So this is wild turkey and dumplings, an uptake on chicken and dumplings, and a brilliant way for you to use wild game to get other people, I know you love it, but to get everybody in your home, in your community, at the office, you bring them this, don't tell them what it is, they'll be hooked. And they'll be able to share the things that we share when we go out and when we harvest our own meat.
You grab one for yourself, why don't you?
It's hot, like really hot.
I know.
The bacon's nice though.